Lawrence Stroll didn't just buy an F1 team, he bought a championship dream. In less than 6 years, this fashion billionaire turned Aston Martin from backmarkers to podium contenders.
This is going to be super aggressive between the two of them. Alonso's fought his way back through. What a move Fernando Alonso!
But here's the shocking truth. His $3 billion fortune isn't even the most impressive part of his plan. This is how one man's ruthless ambition could rewrite Formula One's rulebook, and why Ferrari and Mercedes are terrified. Born into a family of clothing importers, Stroll's father, Leo Strollovich, laid the groundwork for his son's future success. By 17, Stroll was handed the reins of the Pierre Cardin business, and his impressive results caught the attention of Ralph Lauren himself. Stroll earned the European rights to the brand in partnership with Silas Shoe, a Hong Kong-based textile manufacturer. Stroll and Shoe's partnership was a match made in heaven. They made a killing with Ralph Lauren, produced clothing for Tommy Hilfiger, and even acquired Pepe jeans. When Hilfiger's financial banker hit the skids in 1989, Stroll and Shoe swooped in, buying 70% of the brand for $200,000. By the turn of the millennium, Tommy Hilfiger's sales had skyrocketed to almost $2 billion. The masterstroke that would make Stroll's fortune, however, was his investment in Michael Kors. Alongside Shoe, Stroll's sportswear holdings made a savvy investment, shelling out $85 million for an 85% stake in the company. Under their guidance, Michael Kors experienced explosive growth, defying the economic downturn of the late 2000s. By 2011, the company had ballooned to a staggering $3.6 billion valuation. Stroll and Shoe gradually reduced their holdings, waiting for the perfect moment to cash in. That moment arrived in 2014, when Michael Kors was valued at $20 billion. Stroll sold his final stake, pocketing over $1 billion in the process. Today, Stroll's investments in F1 have been nothing short of remarkable. He's brought in top talent, invested in state-of-the-art facilities, and even poached some of the best engineers in the business. With his son Lance driving for the team, it's a real family affair. Love him or hate him, Lawrence Stroll's got the F1 world talking, so we might as well find out how he got into the F1 big leagues. Lawrence Stroll's entry into Formula One was a gradual one, but when he finally made his move, he did it in style. He first dipped his toes into F1 with Lotus, back in the days when Tommy Hilfiger was sponsoring the team. But that partnership was short-lived, and Stroll's involvement with the team was relatively brief. But Stroll's passion for F1 never wavered, and he soon became a prominent figure in the paddock. In 2017, he paid a reported $20 million to secure a seat for his son Lance with the Williams team. Talk about using your connections to get your kid a sweet gig. Stroll reportedly used his business savvy to help Williams secure much-needed funding. But despite Lance's impressive performances, the team struggled to compete with the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari. Meanwhile, Stroll was already eyeing his next move. In mid-2018, he led a consortium named Racing Point to bid for the Force India team, which had entered administration earlier that year. The $90 million offer was successful, and Stroll, along with his business partner Silas Shoe and other investors, became the new owner of the team. As part of the deal, Lance Stroll moved to Racing Point in 2018, and the team underwent a significant transformation. In 2021, the team was rebranded as Aston Martin after Stroll took a stake in the iconic British car company. According to Forbes, Stroll's investment in Aston Martin was part of a $536 million deal that saw him acquire a 16.7% stake in the company. Not too shabby. The move was seen as a strategic one, with Stroll aiming to leverage Aston Martin's brand recognition to boost the F1 team's profile. Lawrence Stroll's $536 million deal for Aston Martin gave him the keys to the kingdom. Operational control, to be exact. And boy, did he hit the ground running. For the 2021 season, he merged Aston Martin with his F1 team, rebranding Racing Point as the Aston Martin F1 team. The new-look team was a family affair, with Lance Stroll driving alongside four-time F1 world champion Sebastian Vettel. Talk about a dream team. But despite the hype, Aston Martin's first two seasons were a bit of a snooze fest. They just couldn't seem to find that elusive front-of-grid performance. That was until Stroll brought in the big guns, technical director Dan Fallows and the legendary Fernando Alonso, who replaced the retiring Vettel ahead of the 2023 campaign. Suddenly, Aston Martin was back in the game, and their performance on the track was transformed. It was like they'd finally found the secret sauce. But to further prove that he's not here to play, Lawrence Stroll just pulled off the coup of the century, snagging the legendary Adrian Newey to join Aston Martin's F1 team. This is a massive deal, folks. Newey's the genius behind 25 world championships with Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull. And Stroll's banking on him to bring that same magic to Aston Martin. When Stroll found out Newey was leaving Red Bull, he pounced, knowing he'd face stiff competition from the likes of Ferrari, Alpine, Williams, and Audi. But Stroll's got deep pockets and a willingness to spend big. He threw everything at Newey to make it happen. He gave Newey a private tour of Aston Martin's swanky new factory, complete with a state-of-the-art wind tunnel, an in-loop simulator, and even a gym with spinning classes twice a day. Newey was impressed, and Stroll could see the wheels turning in his head. The clincher, though, was when Stroll offered Newey a stake in the team, making him a shareholder and partner. It was a masterstroke, as Newey had never been offered a piece of the action before. Suddenly, he had skin in the game, and that's all the motivation he needed. With Newey on board, they've got the talent, resources, and autonomy to take on the big boys and fight for championships. As for Newey, he's got his eyes fixed on the prize. He's not interested in anything else. No hypercars, no America's Cup, just pure, unadulterated F1. And with Stroll's backing, he's got the perfect platform to make it happen. With Stroll's backing, the team has been doing exceptionally well. They finished 7th in the Constructors' Championship in 2021 with 77 points. Not bad, considering they were still finding their feet. In 2022, they made significant progress, finishing 5th in the Constructors' Championship with 55 points. This was largely due to the consistency of drivers Vettel and Lance Stroll, who scored points in all but a handful of races. Currently, they are sitting pretty in 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship with 194 points from the first 15 races of the 2023 season. This is a significant improvement from last year, and it's clear that the team is on an upward trajectory. The improved performance is down to a combination of factors, including increased investment, better teamwork, and a more competitive car. Looking ahead to the future, Aston Martin's chances of becoming a regular title contender are certainly looking brighter. With Adrian Newey on board, the team has acquired one of the most successful designers in F1 history. Newey's expertise will undoubtedly help the team to develop a more competitive car. His presence has already sent a statement of intent to the rest of the paddock. But if that's not enough, Aston Martin's new €220 million wind tunnel is something of a mouth-stopper. This mind-blowing investment is expected to be operational in 2025, with the team planning to transition from using Mercedes' wind tunnel to their facility during the 2025 season. That should be more than enough proof. Technical director Dan Fallows mentioned that the team would likely start using the new wind tunnel for development work on their 2026 car. This would allow them to take full advantage of the new facility's capabilities and develop a more competitive package for the 2026 season. Of course, there are no guarantees in F1, and Aston Martin will get heavy competition from the likes of Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari. However, with Stroll's backing, Newey's expertise, and a talented team behind them, Aston Martin can always hope and dream. But there might still be another issue, one that isn't so easy to fix. That is the question on everyone's mind. What is the plan for Lance Stroll? Lance Stroll's performance in Formula One has been underwhelming, to say the least. Despite his impressive junior career, he struggled to deliver consistent results in F1. His latest blunder at the Brazilian Grand Prix, where he crashed on the formation lap and then bizarrely drove into the gravel, has raised serious questions about his ability to compete at the highest level. The problem is that Aston Martin is investing heavily in its F1 team, with a state-of-the-art factory, top-notch equipment, and big-name signings like Adrian Newey. But if Stroll continues to underperform, it could be a major cog in the wheel of the team's progress. Lawrence Stroll, Lance's father and the team's owner, has a reputation as a shrewd businessman, but his willingness to keep his son in the cockpit, despite his lack of results, is starting to raise eyebrows. It's not just about nepotism, it's about the team's competitiveness and its chances of winning championships. The numbers don't lie. Stroll has been outscored by his teammate Fernando Alonso by a significant margin, and his error-prone driving has cost the team valuable points. It's hard to see how Aston Martin can achieve its ambitions with Stroll behind the wheel. So, what's the solution? Well, Aston Martin has options. They could promote one of their reserve drivers, like Felipe Drugovich or Stoffel van Dorn, who have both shown promise in their careers, or they could sign Max Verstappen. As for Lance Stroll, it might be time for him to consider a career change. Aston Martin's entry into the 24 Hours of Le Mans hypercar class could provide a perfect opportunity for Stroll to switch codes and pilot the Valkyrie prototype. It's a chance for him to prove himself in a different discipline and potentially find success. Ultimately, it's up to Lawrence Stroll to make the tough decision. Will he prioritize his son's career or the team's competitiveness? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. Aston Martin can't afford to carry a driver who's not delivering results. The question remains, is he determined enough to win that he'll swap his son for a better driver? No matter what happens, Lance will not be the worst driver F1 has ever seen. Only one guy holds that title. Find out who it is in the next video.
If you liked this video, take a look at some of our previous videos. I'm sure you'll like them.